Hello, my friends! Here is a supplement to episode 88, where I describe what appeared to me as the symbolic portrait of the material God that is the atom. I realized that I had forgotten the adornment of the bride quoted in the book of Revelation when the heavenly Jerusalem came down from heaven. It must be said that it was only afterwards that I received the understanding of this symbolism. I would like to point out that this image appeared to me on several occasions in the form of three visions that came together in a very powerful force where I could contemplate as a whole this mandala image, the celestial Jerusalem, which I realized in fluorescent paint. Here is my interpretation of it. The first image, Neptune's skirt, would correspond to the Big Bang, when the divine developed like an inflated balloon that should have been uniform. But the undulation of the skirt allowed lumps to clump together to start the process that led to the material. This would be the activation of the atom. The second one I call eclipse, which represents the appearance of duality, yin and yang, masculine and feminine, plus and minus, up and down, etc. It would also be the evocation of the agitation of the particles, allowing to constitute the different atomic forms of matter. The third, which I call the square, uses the four colors of the four living ones, symbolizing the four fundamental forces of the universe. But while they were in full development in the center of the atom, they blossom into the whole universe they contain. This portrait of God, materialized in a divine atom, is highly symbolic and explains why the contemplations of this image produces such intense effects when I contemplate it in its different aspects. I only look at them for a few minutes to feel the effects, whereas it took me many years of difficult research, both materially and morally, to find them, to develop them, to achieve them. And often I felt that there were two of us doing this research. Me here on Earth, and someone else in another dimension sending me the inspirations that guided me or led me astray. When I was constructing these forms that had become meaningful, I had no idea what they meant, but I felt that they had to be realized. I felt driven by a force that gave me the energy to pursue this lonely and misunderstood quest despite the many difficulties I encountered. As for the immaterial energetic portrait of God that appears to me very frequently in the connection session where every night I feel his energy of love, it may seem surprising to those who have watched the episode in which I described the 4 times I have been called to contemplate God. I remind them, episode 19, Divine Vision, episode 29, Second Vision, episode 31, Third Vision. These visions showed me at first a white ball, then inside a kind of galaxy of bubbles of consciousness, the souls. Then a multitude of roots of energy going from the heart of the central core to each pixels of matter and a structure in the shape of fractals. I just realized that these 4 aspects would represent the internal structure of the divine sphere. The boundary layer between the immaterial particles composing God and the material world would be the conscience level, and what I experience every evening would be the level of spiritual communications which is addressed only to certain consciences. I repeat that if it was an angel who transmitted these visions to John, he was a spokesman for Jesus, who himself spoke in the name of God, as it is written at the beginning of the text of the Apocalypse. It is therefore God's gift that I found hidden inside this text at the very end of the Bible. But at the beginning, in Genesis in Hebrew, it seems that there are encrypted words that foretold the Extasium. We thus find the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. An American journalist, Michael Drosnin, in association with an Israeli scientist who developed special software, discovered that encrypted words scattered throughout the text foretold future events, especially in our times. He spoke, among other things, of a palace or temple that is also a steel arch. This is the impression you get when you enter the Extasium. As he said, an arch is a box in which one can enter and contemplate the divine, a tabernacle. That's why it's so amazing. Still, in the language, it means a still appearance. The Extasium is a very special acoustic space with a harmonic cage that has received a specific aluminum-based paint treatment that gives the impression of being made of steel, especially at a time when aluminum was not discovered. He also spoke of two obelisks, keys to the code, and their mouths a man and a woman. Already, to speak of the mouth of the obelisk, it is an indication that it must be understood in a much broader sense. Thus, we can say that it is a vertical and elongated shape. So are the two characters I created, Mr. E and Lady O. It is a sound system that reproduces music with a realism unknown elsewhere, producing ultra-pure harmonics that intensify the ecstatic sensation of the central image of the Extasium steel arch tabernacle. They have a single driver per speaker, giving the illusion of a mouth. They are indeed the key to the code that allowed me to pierce the mystery of the Apocalypse, since it's the particular relationship between music, light, and electronics that allowed me this achievement. There are many other elements in this journalist's finding that are reminiscent of the Extasium, but it would take too long for me to describe them all. The obvious inference is that the Extasium, announced at the beginning of the Bible and described in the end because of its prodigious effects, is indeed the gift of God. But the most surprising thing that proves how fabulous my destiny is that this gift seems to have been intended for me for several thousand years as far as Genesis is concerned, and for nearly 2,000 years for the text of Revelations, since for now it's only me that can benefit from it, unless I manage to make it public.